Hey guys, on this week's Moments with Maria, I have the honor of introducing Phil Clendeninn, Master Product Specialist for Yamaha. Phil's going to take us through a video montage of the Yamaha Montage number 6.
So the whole story here, this is a music synthesizer. The previous, it replaces the motif line. And what the motif was about was really being a music workstation. It's like having 8 motif voices under your fingers at one time so that you can play a role in a band. It's really for the live performer. Of course it goes to the studio as well, but and what that allows you to do, it really expands the ability for you to cover a role. A lot of times keyboard players are asked to be the strings or the brass section, and it can vary from song to song. So a lot of thought went into making this a live performance synthesizer, a true synthesizer. Now you have 2 levels of customers who will be dealing with Montage. You have those who are what we call snorkelers. Snorkelers, you know, they stay near the surface, but they look down and see all the nice fish down there, but they have fun up on the surface. So they put sounds together and they can play and have a lot of fun. Then you have the scuba divers who want to build sounds from scratch. And this is a pure synthesizer. This goes as deep as any synthesizer ever has. With the motif, you were playing 8 oscillators at a time. You're now playing up to 64 oscillators at one time. Why does anybody need to do that? Because we're keyboard players, we want to do that. There's 2 engines in here, a sample-based engine called the AWM2, Yamaha's Advanced Wave Memory. Simply, that's digital recordings of instruments that, of course, can be played back. That has its own 128-note stereo polyphony. Also on board is an FM synthesizer. This comes from the DX7 era. This is the most advanced FM synthesizer ever. What these two technologies combined work to do is something we call the motion control synthesis engine. And that's what the key to this thing is, motion control. It has a nice big flashing knob on the front panel, which everybody will talk about. What's the super knob about? It's called the super knob for a very good reason. It allows you to do multiple things at the same time. So in other words, with 64 oscillators, what if I want to open the filter on oscillator number 12, you know, and close the filter on operator number 3? How do I do that at the same time and still be playing? So the super knob allows you to do multiple things, control multiple things at once. Simple demonstration of it would be it would allow you to turn one sound up while turning another sound down. So here I have a piano that morphs into an electric piano. So this is AWM2 technology, which is a sample-based technology, a sample of a Yamaha acoustic grand piano. And on the other side of the morph, I have the DX7 piano. Now notice I can move that super knob with a foot pedal. The first thing is, how am I going to turn that super knob and play all these things at the same time? Well, I can move it with my foot. It's very simple. Remember, this is a simple example of motion control. It allows me to turn one thing down and another thing up. That would take 2 hands to do. All right, and on the front panel, you know, you actually see these very nice lighted knobs and rotary encoders show you exactly what's going on. But that's just the entry. There are 8 knobs controlled by the super knob. But then each of these 8 knobs get multiplied times 8. So in other words, each of the 8 parts that you can control has its own set of 8 knobs. Now don't let this hurt your head, but that means that turning this one knob, things can go very different. This is a very nice sound. A lot of things were changing there. I'm not only changing EQ and effects, but but I'm bringing in sounds. It's all about control and sound in motion. So if you can remember that, motion control. The montage is really about mixing sounds together. Now, musically speaking, let's say I'm doing a string section. Now, this is a 7-part sound. So in other words, it's like playing 7 individual motifs. I have sound number 1 will be the first violin section. This is called Seattle sections. We actually went to Seattle and sampled the symphony orchestra. So part 1 is the first violins. Part 2 is the second violins. Part 3 is the viola section. Part 4 is the cello section. Part 5 is the contrabass section. Part 6 is a different articulation. When I want quick bow strokes, I can have the assignable function 1 button. I touch that and it changes all of the bow strokes of the entire orchestra. So that's a separate motif doing that. And then part 7 is violin at the top, viola in the center, and cello in the low end. So I can play single instruments. So I have the full orchestra. Into solo instruments. It's all about being a keyboard player and control and articulation. So I can change things in real time. You can automate anything on the product. So here's a sound where the super knob is automated. What it is, this is the first time we've had a synthesizer that is tempo aware. You notice there's an A to D input on the back panel here. You can plug in a microphone, you can plug in another keyboard, you can plug in any audio device. It is the first keyboard that we have that is now, it can derive tempo through the A to D input. So if you're playing with a live drummer, the live drummer can set the tempo and the montage will follow the live drummer. That means all of your tempo-driven effects, your tempo-driven LFOs, your arpeggios, your motion sequences can follow what's going on with what the drummer is doing. It can be an audio source. You can be playing back something from your iPad or your iPhone. It can derive tempo from that. Any sounds that come into the A to D input can also modify any of the sounds on board. So in other words, I might be playing a large FM pad or something, and I can have maybe the rhythm guitar player change the brightness of the sound. So every time he plays a chord, my sound will animate to that. So it really interfaces with other members of the band. So this is the first time that we know this is going to cause some change in music. Category search is your best friend. I'm going to call up a sound. You can either type in the name. I'm looking for a sound called FM Sawtooth Pad. I can type in as much as I can remember of the name, and it will find it for me. This is pure FM. This is an 8-operator FM tone generator. That means it has 8 oscillators in each FM sound. So you can combine freely, and it has its own, I should mention, its own 128 notes of polyphony. So it is a separate engine. It doesn't steal from the samples or it doesn't add to the samples. It's a totally separate engine. And what ties these two engines together, of course, is the motion control synthesis engine. One of the nice things that's on board is that each of the sounds, there's 1,920 sounds on board, has a pre-recorded MIDI demo that gives you an idea of what the programmer was thinking. or 64 oscillators at one time allows you to do many different things. There are over 10,000 arpeggios on board. This is what's called DJ Montage. Now what it allows you to do, there are 8 different scenes here, and I will be changing scenes, moving wheels, moving the super knob in order to interact with what I have set up. It's all a lot of patching that's going on. So this is putting music in motion. Give you an idea of how you can layer things, and this is just a quick 3-layer thing. I'm going to go to choir, I'm going to look up a choir sound, layer it with strings and a pipe organ, and use the super knob now to morph between them. Montage. It comes in 61 key, 76 key, and a full 88 weighted keyboard. Come on down to the music farm and get one.